I hope you felt yourself floating off to sleep with Biscuit. If you did, please hit the like button. Now, if you're still awake, I'm going to guide you through a couple of grounding exercises to help pull you back to this present moment. Start by noticing the sensations in your body. Are there any places that feel especially soft or warm? Maybe your blanket feels extra cozy now, or the pillow beneath your head is cloud-like. Spend a moment fully experiencing those feelings in your body, then bring your awareness to the sounds around you. Close your eyes if they're not already closed, and simply listen. Can you hear the hum of electronics? Perhaps some nearby traffic? Maybe birds tweeting outside? Acknowledge each sound without judgment. Some may be pleasant, others less so. Simply allow them to exist and fade away. Finally, turn your attention to your breath. Notice the natural rhythm of your inhales and exhales. This breath is a lifeline anchoring you to the present moment. If your mind starts to wander, gently guide your focus back to your breathing. With each inhale, picture any worries or distractions floating away. On the exhale, visualize them transforming into peaceful thoughts or imagery. Continue this process until you're ready to fully return. When you're ready, slowly start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Gently move your arms and legs as if waking from a deep slumber. Allow your muscles to stretch and relax deeply. Take another moment to scan your body from head to toe, acknowledging any sensations without attachment. As you start to fully come back, slowly begin to move. Turn your head, look around, extend your legs, stretch your arms overhead. With each movement, you're shedding the drowsiness of sleep, welcoming the day ahead. Welcome back, my friend. After our cozy nap with Biscuit, and before we part ways, I wanted to share a few final thoughts. Sleep, like the gentle breathing of Daisy the cow, is a soothing lullaby that beckons us each night. Yet sometimes sleep evades us, turning our nights into a restless sea. Today's story reminds us of the solace found in nature's embrace, the peace that comes from a world that understands our silent language. The farm with its soft whispers and starry skies encourages us to pause, to breathe, to lean into the stillness. Just as Biscuit finds comfort in the nightly symphony of the farm, may you too find peace in the melodies of your everyday life. Listen to the birds singing in the morning or the leaves rustling in the afternoon. Let these sounds weave their magic, easing your worries and calming your soul. Remember the warmth of the rising sun, the soft glow of twilight, the comforting scents that fill your world. These are the threads that bind us to the present moment, anchoring us to the beauty of now. And may you always find solace in the quiet moments, strength in the changing seasons, and companionship in the great outdoors. As you step into the day ahead, may the spirit of Willowbrook Farm stay with you. May you, too, find comfort in the simple things, courage in the face of challenges, and kindness in all you do. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and for sharing in the adventures of Biscuit and the other barnyard friends. And remember, no matter where you are or what you do, you carry the magic of the farm within you. So go forth, my friend, and embrace the adventures that await. Until next time, may your days be filled with sunshine, and your nights with peaceful dreams. A gentle breeze drifts through the open doors of the barn, stirring the dry hay into soft swirls around Clover the goat. She sneezes, shaking her head to clear the tickle. It's a habit she has, a nervous response to any sudden change. But tonight, there isn't anything to worry about. It's simply the wind, winding its way through the fields and whispering tales of the night to anyone who listen. Clover lifts her head to listen, but she can't quite make out the wind's whispers. All she hears is the steady hum of crickets, punctuated by the occasional chirp of a lone cricket. But if she strains to listen, there's more. If she listens very closely, she thinks she can hear the wind playing a tune on the old tin roof of the barn. The notes are soft and mournful, and they weave themselves around the cricket's song, creating a strange melody unlike any Clover's heard before. It's bittersweet, tugging at a place in Clover's heart that she didn't know existed. An urge to dance rises within her, a wild desire to spin and leap and twirl until her hooves barely touch the ground. Clover fights it down quickly. She's too old for such foolishness, and besides, dancing would wake the others. She nudges her little sister, Daisy, with her nose. Clover, Daisy murmurs sleepily, yawning wide. I don't want to dance. Clover gives a soft bleat in response, though a small smile tugs at her lips. Dance she won't, but she hums along with the wind's song. It's an ancient tune, full of longing and loss, but also hope and new beginnings. Clover finds herself drawn to its melody, and as the song swells, she leans against the hay bale, her eyes gazing toward the open barn doors. Beyond them, the fields stretch endlessly under a sky dusted with stars. The Milky Way shines bright, a path of shimmering light across the darkness. And somewhere beyond the hills, the moon peeks shyly from behind a veil of clouds, casting long, dancing shadows on the land below. Clover watches these silent, graceful movements and feels the wind's song echoing in her chest. It's a lonely sound, a lament for the changing seasons, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Yet there's a comforting ache to it, a reminder that even in darkness, there's beauty and poetry to be found. She closes her eyes, letting the wind's mournful notes wash over her, carrying her away to a place of dreams. In that soft, dreamy space, Clover isn't just a goat. She becomes a creature of moonlight and shadow, free to roam the hills and valleys without fear or care. She leaps and bounds across the landscape, her hooves barely touching the dewy grass, her heart soaring with each graceful stride. She dances with the shadows, twirls among the trees, and gallops with the wind, her laughter echoing on the hillsides, mingling with the mournful song of the tin roof. But as dawn approaches, the wind's song changes. It becomes softer, more gentle, like the first rays of sunlight filtering through the clouds. The melancholy notes fade, replaced by a sense of peace and quiet joy. The song tells of new life, of tender shoots pushing through the soil, of birds returning from their journeys, of lambs frolicking in the fields. It's a celebration of renewal, of the promise of a new day. And as the sun rises higher in the sky, the wind's tune shifts once more. Now it's filled with the sounds of the farm waking up, the clucking of hens, the mooing of cows, the bleating of sheep. The song becomes a lively jig, urging everyone to rise and greet the day with open hearts and eager spirits. The melody carries on the scent of dew-kissed grass, the taste of fresh berries, the feel of warm sunshine on a cool morning, and Clover finds herself swaying to the beat, her heart lighter than air, her eyes sparkling with mischief. As the other goats begin to stir, bleating softly as they stretch and yawn, Clover nudges them playfully. "Come, little ones," she whispers, her voice hoarse from sleep. "It's time for a new day and a brand new song." Together, they step out of the barn, their hooves echoing the lively tune as they bound into the fields. The wind's song is their guide, leading them to the sweetest patches of grass, the brightest spots of sunshine, the coolest pools of shade. They roam freely, their spirits as boundless as the sky above, their laughter mingling with the wind's joyful melody. Deep within the barn, nestled between bales of hay, a pair of bright yellow eyes watches Clover and her sisters bounding through the fields. A low purr rumbles in his chest as he follows their every move with silent fascination. After a while, unable to contain his excitement any longer, the little barn cat darts out of the barn and after Clover, his paws barely touching the ground as he races to join the merry band of goats. Soon, Clover and her sisters notice their feline friend bounding alongside them, and they welcome him with happy bleats and playful nips. Together, they chase butterflies and wild strawberries, roll in the soft grass, and leap over fallen logs, their laughter echoing through the fields. As the sun climbs higher and the day grows warm, the wind's song becomes a lullaby, urging everyone to seek the shade of the old oak tree by the stream. Under its sheltering branches, they rest, their bodies heavy with the sweetness of the day, their spirits light with the joy of living. The wind whispers tales of faraway lands, of brave adventures and magical creatures, while Clover and her sisters dream of fields of gold and skies of sapphire blue. The little barn cat curls up beside them, his purr a soft counterpoint to the rustling leaves overhead, his presence a comforting weight against Clover's side. And as the shadows lengthen and the day begins to fade, the wind's song changes once more. It's slower now, softer, more gentle, like the last rays of sunlight filtering through the trees. The melody speaks of fireflies and moonbeams, of crickets and quiet stars, of whispering grasses and sleeping flowers. And Clover feels the first stirrings of sleepiness creeping through her limbs. With contented sighs, she watches as the fireflies awaken, their tiny lights twinkling like fallen stars in the gathering darkness. The barn cat stretches lazily, his eyes half closed, his purr a constant rumble beneath his sleek fur. And as the moon climbs higher in the sky, the wind's song becomes a lullaby, urging everyone to seek the comfort of the barn once more. Hand in hoof, paw in flank, Clover and her companions return to the safety of the barn, their steps lighter than air, their hearts full of the day's adventures. As they settle down for the night, the wind's final song echoes in their ears, a gentle reminder that even in the quietest hours, the world is filled with magic and wonder if only we have the courage to listen. And so they dream, surrounded by the familiar scents and sounds of the barn. Their spirits soaring with the knowledge that each new day will bring a new song and a new adventure. Hazel leads Biscuit along the twisting path, weaving in and out of the flowers. Their fragrance fills the night air, mingling with the scent of dew-kissed grass and distant clover. The lantern light dances ahead of them, casting fleeting shadows that twist and turn in the darkness. The moon above seems to understand, for it peeks out from behind a cloud, bathing the field in silvery light. "Look there," Hazel says softly, pointing with her nose to a clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center, a cluster of toadstools stands in a circle, their caps glowing faintly as though touched by moonlight. "How beautiful," Biscuit breathes, stepping closer. He sniffs the air, catching the earthy scent of mushrooms and damp wood. The clearing feels hushed and still, as though the forest is holding its breath in reverence. In the middle, a single firefly alights on the tallest toadstool, its light flickering softly. For a moment, it feels as though the forest is watching them, sharing its magic. As Hazel and Biscuit stand mesmerized, a gentle breeze rustles the nearby trees, sending a shower of sparks flying through the air. They turn to see a family of fireflies dancing among the branches. Their lights flicker and fade, then reappear in new patterns, weaving a tapestry of twinkling stars in the darkness. The clearing is filled with an ethereal glow, making the forest floor shimmer with dancing lights. "This is my favorite place," Hazel says, her voice barely a whisper. When the fireflies dance, the forest sings, and the night is full of whispers. Suddenly, a chorus of chirps and trills fills the air. The fireflies seem to be responding, their lights flashing in quick succession. A symphony of sound and light unfolds, echoing the whispers of the ancient trees. Lost in the wonder of the moment, Biscuit and Hazel watch as the fireflies weave their silent song. The melody swells and ebbs, rising to a crescendo of flashing lights and then falling to soft, gentle pulses. The clearing becomes a stage, and the fireflies, the stars, the trees, the whispering chorus of the night. Together, they tell a story without words, a tale as old as time itself. And as Biscuit listens, he realizes that this is more than just a clearing in the forest. This is a place where dreams come alive, where the boundary between reality and fantasy blurs, and where the whispers of the night speak to the soul. In this magical realm, he feels a sense of wonder and awe that he's never known before. The fireflies, with their silent, luminous dance, touch his heart with their silent symphony, and he knows that this moment, this feeling, will stay with him long after the night has turned to day. As the music of the night reaches its gentle close, the fireflies begin to fade away, their lights flickering one last time before disappearing into the darkness. The clearing, once ablaze with color and sound, falls silent. The rustle of leaves returns, the crickets chirp their evening song, and the owls call softly in the distance. Hazel turns to Biscuit, her eyes shining in the dim light. "It's getting late," she says softly. "We should find our way back." Together, they retrace their steps, the path now familiar in the darkness. The air is cooler now, and the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves fills the forest floor. The moonlight filters through the trees, casting long, dancing shadows that stretch and warp into strange shapes. As they walk, the silence is comfortable, filled only by the sound of their own footsteps and the distant hoot of an owl. Finally, they reach the edge of the woods. Before them, the familiar landscape of the pasture stretches out under the silver light of the moon. The rolling hills, the grazing horses, and the distant farmhouse all seem to sigh with peace. "Thank you for showing me this place," Biscuit says to Hazel, his voice filled with wonder. "I had no idea such magic existed in the world." Hazel smiles. "The forest has many secrets, little pup," she says. "But you must promise to keep its magic safe. Only those who believe in the whispers of the night can truly hear its songs." Biscuit nods, his eyes shining with understanding. He knows that this night, with its dancing fireflies, singing trees, and wise old owl, will stay with him always. He turns to go, padding back toward the house where his family awaits. But as he takes his first step, he pauses. He turns back to see Hazel standing at the edge of the woods, her small form outlined against the darkness. The lantern light flickers, casting long shadows around her. "Wait," he calls out, taking a few steps back to her. "Will I see you again?" Hazel turns, and for a moment, Biscuit sees a flash of sadness in her eyes. "Perhaps," she says softly. "Only the forest knows for sure." With that, she turns back to the trees and disappears into the shadows. As quickly as she vanished, a gentle breeze rustles through the leaves overhead, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth. The wind swirls around Biscuit, making the hairs on his back stand on end. Just when he thought the clearing was empty, he hears a soft voice break the silence. "Little one, why do you linger here?" Turning slowly, Biscuit sees a majestic white owl perched on a nearby branch. Its golden eyes seem to hold ancient wisdom, and its presence fills the clearing with an air of mystery. "I wanted to ask," Biscuit begins, his voice hushed in reverence. "Will I see Hazel again? Will I hear the fireflies sing?" The owl blinks slowly, its gaze unwavering. "What do you seek, little pup?" it asks, its voice a low, resonant sound that echoes in the stillness. "I want to believe in the magic," Biscuit whispers, his eyes searching the darkness. "I want to hear the whispers of the night, but I don't know how." The owl remains silent for a moment, and Biscuit fears it won't answer his question. Then, as if sharing a secret, it says, "Believe in the silence, little one. Listen to the whispers of the wind, for they carry stories that touch the heart." Taking a deep breath, Biscuit closes his eyes, trying to hear the whispers the owl speaks of. As he listens, the sound of the wind through the trees grows clearer, carrying scents of pine, fresh earth, and wild berries. Can it be, he wonders? Are these the whispers the owl spoke of? Suddenly, he hears a faint melody carried on the breeze. It's a song without words, a harmony of rustling leaves and sighing grasses, a lullaby of the night. And as he listens, he feels a deep sense of peace and connection to the forest and all its magic. When he opens his eyes, the clearing seems to shimmer with newfound beauty. Each leaf, each blade of grass whispers a story. Each tree stands as a silent guardian of ages past. Biscuit understands now that the magic is all around him, hidden and waiting to be discovered. As dawn begins to paint the eastern sky with soft hues of pink and purple, Biscuit reluctantly turns toward home. The forest, bathed in the soft light of early morning, seems transformed. The trees stand tall and proud, their branches reaching toward the awakening sky. The birds begin their daily chorus, and the dukest grass glistens like scattered diamonds. He remembers the owl's words, "Believe in the silence, little one." And he knows that the true magic lies not just in the wonders he's seen, but in the quiet moments of reflection and the whispers of nature that touch his soul. As he ventures out of the woods, the sight that greets him takes his breath away. The sunrise spills across the horizon, painting the sky in vibrant colors. The rolling hills in the distance seem to glow with the promise of a new day. The familiar sights and sounds of his world suddenly feel fresh and vibrant. Standing at the edge of the forest, he looks back one last time. The trees, now bathed in the warm glow of morning, appear as if they're guarding a secret realm, a place where magic lingers and dreams take flight. With a heavy heart, Biscuit turns away, knowing that for now, he must leave the whispers of the night behind. As he runs toward home, his tail wagging, he can't help but smile. The night has been full of surprises, from dancing fireflies to singing trees, all witnessed under the gentle guidance of a mysterious hedgehog. What adventures await him next? Only time will tell. But one thing he knows for sure, he'll never forget the magic of the night. Hazel stirs in her sleep, a small whimper escaping her lips. She shifts further down the cave floor, seeking warmth and comfort in the tight space. Beside her, nestled close against her flank, a small ball of orange fluff stirs. Tootle, a tiny pink tongue darts out to lap at Hazel's ear before the kitten curls back into a tighter ball, purring softly. Hazel nuzzles the kitten, welcoming the tiny weight pressing against her side. Her own purr rumbling deep in her chest, Hazel drifts back to sleep. When she wakes again, the sky outside the cave is filled with golden light. Blinking away sleep, she stretches, extending every inch of her long body, feeling the muscles in her spine pop and crack. She shakes herself, sending a shower of pebbles skittering across the cave floor. Beside her, the orange ball of fluff twitches an ear before returning to its slumber. Hazel watches the sunbeam shift and move, painting stripes across the cave floor. With a soft sigh, she pushes herself to her feet, stretching again, this time higher off the ground, reaching with every muscle. As she moves, the smaller cat wakes, blinking sleepily up at Hazel. "Morning, Biscuit," Hazel greets, dipping her head to nuzzle the kitten. Biscuit stretches, unfurling slowly, then bounds to his feet, tumbling over his own paws and nearly landing on his face. Hazel can't help but laugh, a tinkling sound that echoes in the cavern. As Biscuit righted himself, he lets out a triumphant chirp. Hazel bats playfully at his ear. "I may be older, Biscuit, but you certainly are the clumsiest kitten I've ever known," she teases, nudging him toward the opening of the cave. Outside, The forest is alive with the sounds of birdsong and rustling leaves. Hazel takes a deep breath, filling her lungs with the fresh morning air. Come on, sleepyhead. It's time to start the day. She calls to Biscuit, who is taking his time grooming his tangled fur. Hazel turns, padding out of the cave opening and disappearing into the green maze of trees. Biscuit finishes his grooming and follows. They weave between trunks, leaping over fallen logs and weaving under low-hanging branches. As they go, Hazel pauses often, ears pricked, listening intently in every direction. Biscuit, being smaller, can slip underbrush that Hazel must push aside. But he often stops to wait for her as well, patiently batting at butterflies and dragonflies that flutter past. Though they are teaching each other much about the forest, Hazel knows these woods better than any other. She can find food, water, and shelter within its borders. And she has shared all of these things with Biscuit, since he came to live with her in the spring. Now that summer has arrived, the forest floor is covered with a thick carpet of dry leaves and fragrant pine needles. Sunlight filters down through the canopy above, dappling the ground with shifting patterns of light and shade. Through it all, Hazel keeps moving at a steady pace. She trusts that Biscuit will follow, and he does, even when the path ahead seems lost. Whenever Hazel hesitates, he pushes his nose into her flank, reminding her to keep going. And when the forest grows too dark or the path too steep, he simply stays close behind her, trusting in her strength. As the hours pass, the light begins to slant and stretch. Hazel slows, glancing back at Biscuit to make sure he understands that it is time to find somewhere safe to rest before the moon rises. Together, they come to a small clearing, bathed in the last light of the day. Tall grasses wave slowly in the breeze, and a weathered stone wall runs along the edge. Hazel settles down against the wall, dipping her head to groom her paws. Biscuit curls up beside her, too big for her small space, but he tries anyway, squeezing his fluffy bulk against her flank. Hazel lets out a rumbling purr, nuzzling the top of his head. Biscuit responds by nudging her ear with his wet nose. From their spot against the wall, they watch fireflies begin to glimmer in the darkening air. From far away, the sound of a nightbird calling floats through the trees. Hazel lifts her head to listen, ears perked. She recognizes that call, and she knows exactly where to go. Hazel leaps to her feet, shaking the sleep from her limbs. Come on, Biscuit, she says, turning to lead the way. We must hurry if we want to get there before dark. Biscuit scrambles to his feet, nearly tripping over his own paws. Hazel laughs softly and bats at his ear. Watch your step, clumsy one. You don't want to fall and hurt yourself. Biscuit chirps back, brushing against her leg to nudge her forward. Eager to be off, Hazel can't help but smile. Even after all this time spent together, she still finds joy in Biscuit's enthusiasm. They move quickly, weaving through the trees, keeping to the shadowy paths. Hazel pauses often to listen, to sniff, to mark their path with a quick scratch of her claw on a nearby tree. Then they move on. Finally, the trees begin to thin, revealing a dirt road ahead. Hazel slows, sniffing the air carefully. The road is edged with wildflowers, their petals heavy with dew. Toads sit plump and glistening on the stones, and dragonflies rest on tall grasses, their wings shimmering in the fading light. Hazel dips her head to drink from a puddle, then moves on, following the road deeper into the darkening woods. Soon, the familiar shape of an old oak tree comes into view. Beneath its spreading branches, nestled in a bed of soft moss, is a small cottage. Smoke drifts from its chimney, carrying the scent of wood smoke and baking bread. When Hazel reaches the porch, she meows loudly, then runs up the steps and pushes at the door with her nose. It opens icily, and she slips inside. A kind-faced woman stands at the hearth, stirring a pot hanging over the fire. Hazel, my dear, she greets, smiling. And you brought a friend. The woman looks down at Biscuit, who is gazing curiously at the dancing flames. Well, hello there, little one, she says, reaching out a hand to stroke his fur. Are you hungry? Biscuit rubs against her fingers, purring loudly. I think we found some wild blueberries today, the woman says, reaching for a bowl. Perhaps you would like some milk and biscuits. She winks at Hazel. Hazel purrs and rubs against the woman's legs, grateful for her kindness. As the woman fills Biscuit's bowl with milk and crunchy biscuits, Hazel settles down on the rug beside the hearth. Closing her eyes, the warmth of the cottage seeps into her bones, chasing away the lingering chill of the evening. When she looks up, she sees Biscuit lapping eagerly at his milk. The woman watches them both for a moment, a fond smile on her face. You two are a lovely pair, she says softly. Hazel knows she is right. She opens her mouth to reply, but no words come out. There is nothing she could say that would express the depth of Hazel's gratitude. Instead, she settles back, content to bask in the warm glow of the hearth, and the love of the woman who cares for her, and the kitten she calls friend. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees, and the stars begin to gleam in the velvet sky. Inside, safe from the darkness, Hazel drifts to sleep with a full belly and a happy heart. The lantern swayed gently in Hazel's paw, casting a soft, slow glow across the moss-covered ground. Beside her, Biscuit was still curled beneath the apple tree, his tiny chest rising and falling with each breath, matching the lazy rhythm of the leaves above. Hazel sat quietly, watching the fireflies blink their lights on and off among the branches. She didn't need to hurry, not while Biscuit slept, and the night was so still. After a while, when the fireflies grew bolder and the moon climbed higher, Hazel rose gently. She didn't want to startle Biscuit or wake him from his sleep, so she kept her steps soft and slow as she walked to the edge of the clearing. There, beneath the twisted roots of the old apple tree, her little puppy slept on, his face peaceful, his breathing even. Hazel sat down again, leaning against the tree's rough bark, and watched the shadows grow longer in the gathering darkness. She wasn't sure how long she sat there, lost in the quiet hush of the night. Time seemed to move differently here, in the heart of the whispering wood. It wasn't measured by ticking clocks or the rising and setting sun, but by the slow, deep breaths of the sleeping world around her. Finally, she felt a stirring within her, a gentle nudge that told her it was time to go home. The night had given her many treasures: firefly lights, moonbeams, and the quiet company of the sleeping woods. But now it was ready to tuck her in for the night, just as the whispering wood had tucked her in when she was little. And so she stood up, careful not to disturb the sleeping puppy, and walked to the edge of the clearing once more. As she turned to leave, something caught her eye. Nestled amongst the tangled roots of the apple tree, she saw something small and glowing. At first, she thought it was just another firefly that had landed to rest. But as she drew closer, she realized it was a tiny acorn. Not just any acorn, but the very last acorn from this very tree. Hazel knelt down and picked it up, turning it over in her hands. The acorn was smooth and heavy, and its cap, a delicate brown, felt soft and silky beneath her touch. It was perfect. Hazel tucked the acorn into the pocket of her dress, its gentle weight a comforting presence against her leg. Then she returned to Biscuit, who was still sleeping peacefully beneath the tree. She nudged him gently with her nose, and when he opened his eyes, she smiled. "It's almost time to go back," she said softly. "The night has given us its treasures, and now it's ready to tuck you in." Biscuit blinked slowly, his eyes still heavy but warm with the calm he felt beside her. He stretched, uncurling his tiny body, and yawned, showing off a pink tongue and a set of sharp new teeth. He stood, shaking his little legs, then looked at Hazel, tail wagging slowly. Together, they began to walk away from the apple tree, leaving the fireflies and the sleeping woods behind them. The path seemed different now, quieter, as though the farm was holding its breath while they passed. The mossy ground gave way to grass again, and the coolness beneath Biscuit's paws felt like stepping into a gentle stream. The air carried a faint sweetness now, a mix of hay and the distant smell of rain-soaked earth. Somewhere behind them, the leaves of the apple tree rustled one last time, like a farewell whisper. Hazel's lantern swayed, casting its slow, soft light ahead of them. They walked past the pond once more. The frog was still there, but now his eyes were fully closed, his lily pad swaying gently in the water. The stars reflected on the pond's surface seemed softer now, as though they too were beginning to sleep. Further along, the meadow opened again, but it felt changed, not in how it looked, but in how it felt. The tall grass sways more slowly. The dewdrops still glistened, but the light on them seems dimmer, as if the lantern and the moon are telling them to close their eyes soon. Biscuit walked through, feeling the cool brush of each blade like tiny, gentle goodnight pats. When they reached the little wooden gate, Hazel pushed it open, without a sound. The latch fell back into place with the tiniest click, and then they were back on the narrow hedge-lined path. The flowers were still there, but now their sweet scent was heavier, like the last fragrance before they sleep until morning. The breeze moved through the hedges one last time, soft and steady, and Biscuit tilted his head upward, letting the petals' faint perfume fill his senses. As they drew closer to the barn, the familiar sounds returned. The slow, deep breathing of Daisy the cow, the rustle of feathers as the chickens shift in their roosts, the faint creak of the barn's wooden beams settling into their nighttime stillness. From somewhere high above, Barnaby the owl gave a quiet hoot, not a call to stay awake, but a slow, low note that felt like a bedtime song. Hazel stopped just before the barn door. "This is where I leave you," she said, her eyes kind and bright in the lantern light. Biscuit looked at her, his tail giving one last slow wag. She leaned down just enough to place her tiny paw gently on his back. "Sleep well, little pup. Carry the night's peace with you, and let it follow you into your dreams." With that, she turned and began walking away, her lantern's glow growing smaller and smaller until it disappeared around the corner of the barn. Biscuit stood there for a moment, watching the space where she left. The calm she brought still wrapped around him like a warm, invisible blanket. Finally, he padded quietly inside. The hay was just as he left it, soft and piled high, its scent warm and earthy. He circled once, then twice, and then curled into a small golden ball. The lantern inside the barn flickered gently, its light brushing over his fur in the same way moonlight brushed over the meadow. He could still hear the night outside, the soft breath of the wind, the slow rhythm of crickets, the occasional ripple of the stream. But now, those sounds were far away, like memories already turning into dreams. Biscuit let out one last sigh, his body growing heavier, his breathing slower. In 2, 3, out 2, 3, he felt himself sinking, not falling, but drifting, like a leaf carried gently down a quiet stream. Every muscle is loose now. Every thought is soft and slow. The night has wrapped itself around him completely, and nothing is left but warmth, and peace, and the deep, endless quiet of sleep. And somewhere, in the great stillness of Willowbrook Farm, the stars keep watch. They twinkled softly, their light touching every roof, every field, every sleeping creature, including one tiny golden puppy, safe in his haybed. Deep in the heart of Willowbrook Farm, nestled between the sleeping woods and the silent fields, lay the littlest barn. Within its sturdy walls, and beneath its tin roof, wonders unfolded. When the sun dipped below the horizon, and the first stars pricked the twilight sky, the littlest barn awoke. Daisy, the gentle milk cow, shifted in her bed of hay, her breath a soft puff of warmth in the cooling air. Her wide, dreamy eyes gazed at the rafters, seeing visions of clover-filled meadows and babbling brooks. Above her, the chickens huddled together, their feathery bodies forming a soft, clucking circle of warmth. Each tiny sigh and snore was a lullaby, a melody of slumber that echoed through the barn's echoing depths. And in the hayloft above, bathed in the silver glow of the rising moon, lay Hazel and Biscuit, fast asleep. Their day of adventure had been long and full, filled with the magic only a whispered wood and a moonlit meadow can bring. Now, tucked in the safety of the hayloft, they dreamed dreams as sweet and deep as the slumbering farm all around them. The wind sighed through the cracks in the barn doors, weaving tales of rustling leaves and dancing fireflies. The scent of hay, sweet and earthy, mingled with the faint, far call of an owl, creating a symphony of nighttime that lulled them deeper into sleep. In the boundless expanse of the night, under the watchful gaze of a million stars, Hazel and Biscuit slept, their day of adventure done, their hearts brimming with the magic of a moonlit journey. For in the littlest barn, amidst the symphony of the night, dreams took flight, carrying a little girl and her puppy to lands where fireflies danced and moonbeams gleamed, where adventures awaited and friendship bloomed. And as the night deepened, the littlest barn held them close, its sturdy walls protecting their slumber, its hayloft roof sheltering their dreams until the first blush of dawn painted the sky anew. For in the heart of Willowbrook Farm, where the littlest barn stood bathed in starlight, magic whispered on the breeze, promising dreams as vivid and enchanting as the night itself. In the realm where sunset hues ignite the sky, there lived a little puppy, heart pure and bright, his fur a canvas of sable and white, with eyes that shone with innocence and delight. And so, the little puppy padded softly along the worn dirt path, paws making the faintest crunch as he walked over scattered straw. The sun had dipped even lower now, painting the barn walls in a soft, golden-orange glow. The gentle hum of the evening crickets was beginning, blending with the far-off cooing of the doves that lived in the rafters. Inside the barn, the warm scent of hay was even stronger, wrapping the little puppy in a blanket of comfort. Before he even found his bed, he stepped carefully around a patch of straw where the kittens were curled up, their tiny noses twitching in dreams. One of them gave the smallest of mews, and the puppy paused, tilting his head with that curious puppy look. He gave the kitten a gentle nudge with his nose before moving along. At the far corner of the barn was his favorite spot, a big, soft mound of hay that Farmer Thomas had arranged just for him. It was slightly indented, shaped perfectly to fit his small, round body. Above, a narrow window let in the last ribbon of twilight, a sliver of silver light that danced across the floor. He circled his bed once, twice, 3 times, as dogs often do before settling, and then plopped down with a little sigh. The hay cradled him, warm and scratchy in the best possible way. A gentle breeze drifted in through the half-open barn door, carrying the scent of the orchard outside, sweet apples ripening on their branches, grass still damp from the morning's dew. It made the puppy's eyes grow heavy, his breath slowing, his tiny chest rising and falling in the rhythm of deepening relaxation. From the nearby chicken coop, the last clucks of the day faded into soft murmurs as the hens nestled into their own roosts. The barn owl shifted above in the rafters, feathers rustling ever so lightly as she found her perch for the night. Even the mice, usually scurrying around this time of day, seemed to understand the quiet spell that had settled over the farm. The puppy's ears twitched once as he listened to the faraway sound of Farmer Thomas closing the gate with a slow clink. That sound had always meant safety, that the farm was secure for the night. A small yawn escaped his mouth, one of those big puppy yawns that seemed to stretch all the way down to his little tail. Outside, the stars were beginning to sparkle. Just 1 or 2 at first, like shy friends peeking through a curtain, and then more, each one blinking softly in the velvet sky. The moon, round and gentle, cast its glow across the meadow, turning the grass into a shimmering silver carpet. The puppy closed his eyes for a moment and imagined running across that moonlit meadow, the grass cool under his paws, the air smelling of fresh earth and wildflowers. In his mind, fireflies danced around him, their tiny lights winking like little lanterns guiding his way. He imagined chasing them, not to catch, but to follow, to see where their secret paths led. A rustle outside the barn made his ear perk for a moment, just the wind brushing through the tall cornstalks, whispering stories only the plants could understand. The sound was steady, almost like a lullaby, weaving its way into the puppy's dreams. He shifted slightly in the hay, curling himself into a tighter ball, his tail tucking neatly under his nose. The warmth of the barn wrapped around him like a blanket, and the faint scent of wood, straw, and sleepy animals filled the air. Every sound seemed to slow now. The steady drip of water from the roof into a small bucket, the lazy sway of the barn door on its hinges, the deep sigh of the old draft horse settling into his stall. The puppy's breathing grew even slower. The world outside could wait. For now, there was only this: the safety, the warmth, the quiet heartbeat of the farm at rest. And as the night deepened, the little puppy finally drifted into dreams. Dreams of running under the stars, of finding hidden paths through fields of clover, of meeting the gentle deer who visited the meadow in the early morning mist. In the heart of the farm, with the moon watching from above and the hay cradling him close, the sleepy puppy was home. And so the farm itself seemed to sigh in return, as though every creature, every leaf, every wooden beam in the barn was part of the same great lullaby. The lullaby that carried him gently into the night. But beyond the barn, past the sleepy fields and the silent stables, there lived a girl named Alara. Her heart, though young, held a love for animals that knew no bounds. With hair like spun gold and eyes as blue as the summer sky, she roamed the farm with laughter, light and free. As dusk descended and shadows grew long, she'd help Farmer Thomas with a gentle song. The chores went swiftly, feeding, grooming, and play, with every creature eager for Alara's stay. They understood her touch, her voice, her tender care, and loved her dearly beyond compare. When evening fell and the day was done, she'd seek out the little puppy, her faithful one. She'd tell him stories of faraway lands, of brave adventures and helping hands. And the little puppy, ears perked up high, would dream of journeys beneath the moonlit sky. One day, while playing by the old oak tree, the puppy chased a butterfly so carefree. It led him far, beyond the meadow's end, where a winding path began to bend. Curiosity sparked within his breast, and he followed where the path had pressed. Through bushes and trees, he made his way, until the light of day began to stray. Lost and alone, he started to roam, feeling small and scared and far from home. The sun dipped low, casting long, eerie shadows on the ground, and the puppy whimpered, lost and not a sound. Back at the farm, Alara's heart did ache, for she felt the puppy's sadness, his spirits quake. Without a word, she ran outside, into the twilight, her heart her guide. The moon peeked through the clouds up above, as Alara searched with a prayer of hope. She called his name, her voice so sweet, and followed where her heart would lead her feet. Meanwhile, the puppy, with eyes so wide, saw a glimmer of light in the darkening tide. With a final bark, he stumbled near to where Elara stood, her face etched with fear. "Oh, puppy, my dear," she cried with delight, and held him close. His darkness turned to light. Together they walked with hearts entwined, the lost puppy and the girl, one of a kind. Back at the barn, the animals all did greet their favorite girl with joy complete. The horses neighed, the chickens clucked with glee, welcoming Elara and her loyal puppy, free. And so they lived, their bond so true, the little puppy and the girl, Elara too. Their days were filled with laughter and cheer, with nary a worry or a single tear. For in each other, they found a friend so dear. On their little farm, their love was clear. And when the stars twinkled in the velvet sky, they knew their friendship would never die. It echoed through the ages, a tale to be told, of the little puppy and the girl, Elara, brave and bold. Outside the weathered barn, the darkness had deepened, though the sky was too clear to call truly dark. Patches of moonlight spilled onto the ground, making little pools of silver in the hay scattered around the farmyard. The wind, which had been gossiping through the cornstalks all day, had quieted to a murmur. It nudged the leaves in the old oak tree, rustling them like whispers. Inside the barn, nestled among the sweet-smelling hay, sat a small wicker basket. In it lay a puppy. His eyelids were already droopy, and his breaths, soft and even, seemed to echo the rhythm of the quiet night. The puppy, named Milo by the farmer who cared for him, snuggled deeper into the straw lining the basket. The day had been full of adventures, romps in the meadow, games of hide-and-seek, and explorations of the farmyard, all of which had tired him out. Now, as the coolness of the night settled around him, he felt an overwhelming urge to rest. Farmer Thomas, a man with hands as rough and kind as tree bark, carefully lifted Milo from his basket. The puppy wriggled happily, his tail thumping against the wood. "Tired out, little one?" the farmer asked, scratching behind Milo's floppy ears. Milo responded with a tiny whine and a lick to Thomas's hand. His eyes, still bright with the day's adventures, slowly started to droop. Thomas smiled, his face crinkling at the corners like a well-worn saddle. He laid the puppy back down in his basket, tucking him in with more straw. "Nighty-night, Milo," he said softly. "Sleep tight." Then, with a gentle creak, he closed the barn doors, leaving the puppy in the fading light. As the darkness crept in, Milo's eyelids grew heavy. His small chest rose and fell with each breath, and those breaths grew slower, matching the quiet pulse of the night. The barn, usually bustling with the energy of animals, was still. The cows were drowsy, their moos reduced to soft sighs. The horses, their heads lowered, were dreaming of grassy plains. Even the barn cats, usually playful shadows, were curled up in hay, purring like tiny motors. The only sound was the rustle of the wind through the cracks in the barn, like whispers sharing secrets only the night could understand. The hours passed, marked not by sound or movement, but by the deepening shadows and the steady rhythm of breathing. Milo, oblivious to the passage of time, slept on. His dreams took him on adventures, chasing fireflies in moonlit meadows, swimming in streams that shimmered with starlight, and playing with clouds that sailed across the daytime sky. He barked joyfully in his sleep, his paws moving as if still racing through the fields. And all the while, his small body grew warmer, softer, more relaxed with each passing moment, until every muscle was loose and every breath was pure contentment. Outside the barn, the moon climbed higher in the sky, bathing the world in its silvery light. The stars twinkled, casting tiny diamonds across the darkness. The crickets in the meadow began their nightly chorus, their chirping a soothing lullaby. The wind, now a gentle caress, rustled the leaves in the old oak tree, creating soft, whispering music. Inside the barn, Milo stirred in his basket. He whimpered softly, his paws twitching as if still racing through his dreams. His breathing, shallow at first, gradually deepened. The peacefulness of the night wrapped around him, enveloping him in its quiet embrace. The smell of hay and the sound of crickets created a comforting symphony that lulled him deeper into slumber. The barn, with its sturdy roof and its walls filled with the echoes of happy animal sounds during the day, became a sanctuary for the sleeping puppy. The hours slipped by unnoticed. The moon, now high in the sky, cast long dancing shadows on the barn floor. The temperature dropped, but inside the barn, Milo was enveloped in a cozy bubble of warmth. His small body curled tighter in the basket, his paws tucked under his chin. His breathing, now deep and even, echoed the steady pulse of the night. In the distance, an owl hooted, its call echoing through the stillness. A lone horse whickered softly, perhaps dreaming of distant watering holes. A cricket chimed, marking the passage of time with its tiny song. All around the barn, the night creatures stirred, sensing the peace of the moment, sharing the quiet magic of the sleeping world. And then there was only the night, the stars, the sleeping puppy, and the dreams that wove their magic on the silent farm. The wind, now a hushed whisper, caressed the barn, as if sharing a secret with the sleeping world. The leaves in the old oak tree sighed contentedly, their rustling a soft lullaby. The crickets, their chirping a constant melody, seemed to sing just for the sleeping puppy. The moon, high in the sky, bathed the barn in its silvery light, making it glow softly in the darkness. Its gentle radiance enveloped the sleeping Milo, making him feel safe, warm, and cherished. In the stillness of the night, the world held its breath, watching over the sleeping puppy. The stars twinkled, sending tiny pinpricks of light to rest on his closed eyelids. The fireflies, their lights flickering like stars fallen to earth, danced in the meadow nearby, as if celebrating the peace of the night. The flowers in the field bowed their heads, their petals soft and gentle, sharing the quiet beauty of the sleeping world. And Milo, lost in the land of dreams, slept on. His breathing, steady and soft, echoed the rhythm of the night. His paws twitched, as if still chasing fireflies, or racing through moonlit meadows. His tail, tucked under his chin, thumped gently against the wood of the basket, betraying the content of his dreams. Time stood still in the sleeping barn. There was no past, no future, only the present moment of quiet joy. The hours passed, not in minutes or seconds, but in the shared silence of the night. The world outside the barn continued its endless cycle, but inside, there was only peace. Then, as the first hint of dawn touched the horizon, a faint glow began to seep through the cracks in the barn doors. The darkness retreated, replaced by the promise of a new day. The rooster in the distance began its morning song, heralding the return of light. The sleepy farm stirred, waking from its night of rest. And Milo, the little puppy, stretched in his basket, his paws uncurling, his tail unfurling like a ribbon. His eyes fluttered open, revealing pools of liquid gold, shining brighter than any star that had twinkled above him during the night. He yawned, revealing a pink tongue and tiny white teeth, then looked around the barn, his tail now a blur of motion. The adventure of a new day lay before him, and he was ready to explore it all. So ends the tale of the sleepy puppy on the farm, a story of rest, dreams, and the quiet magic of a night well spent. May it remind you of the peace that can be found in the stillness of the world, and the joy of a new day dawning after a restful night. Sweet dreams.